Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty, and this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also, it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look into the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. Today, we have this amazing guest that it's an honor and a privilege to have him on the show, Josh Claydon. Josh has served in the armed force for 15 years. He was discharged over 2 years ago with a vision to help change culture within workplaces for the better. As his journey outside the defense continued, he came across NLP, Neurolinguistic Programming, which changed the trajectory of his mission. While still having the view and effect of real change in the workplace culture, his passion is to help veterans with challenges of PTSD and trauma, which has become huge as he can see it from a different perspective. Having been through his own journey with mental health challenges, he's now deeply passionate about giving veterans alternatives that allow them to break free from the effects of PTSD and trauma from years of service, as well as reconnecting as a family unit. Josh, legend, mate, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much, James. It's great to be here.
Mate, I just want to start off with, I just want to say thank you from myself and for all the listeners for serving and for protecting, our amazing country. It's for someone who's selected to go into the armed forces and Air Force and just to go, wow, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on as a guest. But I just want to say thank you from myself and for all our listeners to helping to protect and serve the country. So, mate, thank you.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. It was a great time, great 15 years of my life. So yeah, it was great to be there.
So let's go back to the before the 15 years. What interests you of serving? What took me back to there?
So I grew up in Lismore, a little town that most people have heard of now in northern New
Yep.
South Wales. And I had this vision, this passion that was bigger than what I felt there. I wanted to travel. I wanted to get out and see different parts of the world and just explore my passions. So I always knew that I loved aircraft, and so it was kind of a natural, yeah, pull to pull all those things together and just go off and join the Air Force.
Wow. Fantastic. And then so how long did that take? What's that? What's the journey? So once you go, oh, cool, well, let's join the Air Force. Obviously, it's a time, there's lots of study, there's lots of training. What does that entail?
So for me, it was pretty quick. I went off, I did my initial assessments, all of that kind of stuff, and started to get fit and ready. And the position that I wanted wasn't available. So I wanted to join as initially air traffic controller, and unfortunately that fell through. And then I wanted to go into an aircraft technician role. And I got a call and said, hey, look, this position's going to be 12 months away. We've got this one that's coming up. How do you feel? And I said, look, I just excited to join. So jumped in, joined, and yeah, my career as a mover began.
Wow. So 15 years, right? You would have seen a lot of change within the service.
Yeah.
What was that biggest change that you saw and you went through that time? Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? what I've realized is that between with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, and it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show.
Um, I guess it was cultural. When I first joined, there was a big focus on being a cohesive team within defence. And so you'd have your Friday afternoon barbecues and your early knockoffs. You go and play, golf with the team, all of that kind of stuff. There was that real camaraderie there. And as I continued through that 15 years, it kind of faded away to be more of a business. So you'd go to work, you'd do your job, and then you'd go home. There are absolutely people passionate about it and got friends throughout the Defence Force. But yeah, there was just that culture, I guess, just sort of deteriorated, particularly with a couple of reforms, a few things that happened inside Defence, and then COVID just pushed everyone apart and it never really came back together after that. And yeah, I discharged in 2022, so I didn't really see what's happened on the back end of that.
So, because one of my questions was like, why? Why do you think the changes? And you mentioned reforms and obviously COVID.
Yeah.
To someone not as intelligent as yourself, like me, what is a reform? What happens in a reform? Is it depending on who's in for government, depending on the spending? What is a reform?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that come in around that, and unfortunately, defences hyper focus with public image, and rightly so. Like, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard as we are there to protect and serve. And so there are a few incidents in the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, even to throw a couple out there: HMAS Success, ADFA, those kind of things that is something that defence didn't want to have in their culture. And so yeah, cultural change started to happen, and we started to bring ourselves into the future rather than stagnating in the way things used to be. And so with all of those cultural changes and the 30,000 people plus within the defence community that were affected by that, yeah, it was tricky to navigate, I'm sure, by the leaders and commanders and all the way through the system.
Yeah, got it. So, like, 15 years is quite a while. I mean, and I would imagine that coming out of the forces where you're so, I guess, ingrained into a culture and a way of doing things and come back out into civilian life, it would be a shock. And we've heard PTSD a number of times in relations to, reports, and you see it on the news and findings. But what actually is PTSD, if you could explain that, and how does that impact someone?
So PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, basically, to get a little bit technical for a second, the amygdala is part of our brain that stores or creates memories and emotions. And it does that, and it stores them together as well. And so when you think about, the happiest moment of your life, you're going to smile. And when you think about the saddest moment of your life, you're going to feel sad. And that's because those are stored together. With PTSD, there's a traumatic event, and there's always a trigger around that, whether it's a noise, whether it's a smell, whatever it is that triggers a negative film or photo that comes into your mind. And so that trigger automatically stimulates that response. And so for PTSD, and there are levels of PTSD, but it's just not good generally. But yeah, a triggered response sends you back into an active state of being in that traumatic event. So
Right. And so
yeah,
this could happen. This could happen for anything. This could happen for like being over in deployment. It could be happening in at base. It could be depending on any traumatic response. Is that correct?
exactly. And
Okay.
the trauma varies from person to person. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's lived an individual life, so you can't say these two people experience the same event and it's going to affect them the same, because it's absolutely not the case. So, everything from car accidents to, childhood memories, all the way through to, you know, war and first responders, all of that kind of stuff. So it varies. No two people are the same, and no two reactions to an event are the same.
Gotcha. And what's the like? Is PTSD? Is it the cases growing? Is it decreasing? What are the trends around it at the moment?
Yeah, so unfortunately, it is on the increase, particularly in the defence community. I mean, we've just come out of the longest war that we've been in as a country. And so, from the back of that, you've got all of the people who were so stoic and so committed to defense that they would just push forward and push forward and push forward, because that's what you do. It's putting your mates first, it's putting the country first. And then come to peacetime essentially, and there's no distractions. And so these events, these things that are popping up, there's nowhere to hide them. There's not as much time outfield, and you're not prepping for your next deployment or anything like that. So these events that traditionally can be masked are no longer doing that. And we've found through research that even the post-deployment testing, the 3 month, the 6 month, the 12 month, all show minimal signs. And then when you reach out to your 2 years, that's when we're seeing a real increase in signs of mental health issues with veterans, because they mask for so long and then it becomes overwhelming.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting, right? So it's that longer 2 year period where those symptoms and signs really be developed. What is there out there at the moment for veterans as they go through this journey? Is there support? What's working and what's not working around that support?
Yeah, there's a huge network there for defence veterans and their families. I mean, you've got Open Arms, which is fully funded mental health support, psychiatric support. You've got Mates for Mates, you've got Soldier, and you've got a whole range of different support systems out there. And unfortunately for mental health, it's not one size fits all. And this is what we're sort of discovering at a larger scale now through the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide, is that up to 88% of the people who actually chose to end their life, sadly, had sought mental health support in the 12 months prior to doing so. So we've got all of these awesome systems and structures out there, and people are still falling through the cracks. And so that's where Tara and I sort of had the idea to just be one more step in that process. I mean, for me, suicide has been an option for me in the past. Like, I've been there and I've done NLP, and it's pulled me out of the PTSD. It's pulled me out of that depressive state that I was in. And so I've swung that passion into helping others with this kind of thing, because I know it works. It's worked for me. And trying to just create another option, because suicide is the last option and we should never get to that option. So yeah, all for all the other mental health services. I'm not going to turn someone away and say, this service is no good. Everything helps someone, and we're just here to be another option. basically.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So talk to me about that journey though you've had with your own personal journey with NLP. So what was that? Because it's a huge modality. It's a very powerful modality. What interested you about learning NLP? And then the secondary question is, what are you noticing on how can really help veterans work through this PTSD?
So I was on a sort of a growth journey, if you want to put it in a little corny type phrase. And I was doing things like emotional intelligence testing and Lego serious play and trying to pull in all of these different modalities to help people have fun and find joy in their life. And I kind of realized that I was kind of a bit stuck and I didn't really know why. And that kind of just spiraled. And that's what led me into the depression and ideology and that kind of ideation. And so my wife did NLP to try and help her deal with, me and all the things that I was going through. And so she did it, and I saw profound results in the way that she communicated, the way that she saw the world, the way that she was. And she never pressured me or anything to go and do it. She just put it in the corner and said, it's an option. And so about 6 months after, I was sitting ruminating and I thought, I've got to try. Like, I've got two young kids, I've got a wife. I need to be better. Like, I just can't keep doing the same thing, expecting things to improve. So went off and I did NLP and released, like I said, released the trauma that I had. And the thing that actually pulled the first brick out of the walls that I had up was breath work. And so I did some holotropic breath work, did a session of that. And then after that, everything sort of came down and came out. And what I love about NLP is you don't have to just sit and talk about everything that happened and just continue with that kind of process. There's steps and there's dealing with it and there's results. And I mean, for me, it was a 5-day course and intensive, like super intensive course. And by the end of that, I'd released all of the trauma that I had around my sister passing, around my dad, around all of these different events that I just buried, and just kept stacking. And so, yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great modality.
Amazing. It is, mate. And that's the thing. I think you hit the nail on so many heads there. And it's a really total reframe of looking at things differently and releasing that negative emotion, which will allow you to step into that positive limelight. And I just wanted to acknowledge you on taking that journey, because from the past traumas that you've been through to releasing those you still have the memories, but not the negative emotions attached to those memories. I think it's a really powerful modality. So well done. So what's on the horizon for you? What are you working on, and what are the next steps?
So our business model for Nexus Ally is basically using corporate training, using Lego Serious Play, leadership, all of that kind of stuff. And that's growing so well that we've been able to reduce the prices and keep the prices for our coaching so low for veterans. We want to prevent veteran suicide. So I know that there's a lot of talk about suicide awareness and there's a lot of talk about suicide prevention and how we do it. But yeah, our passion is suicide prevention and helping people. So yeah, we're getting in the ears of people who matter at the moment and talking to them about how we can help veterans. And yeah, it's growing and it's gathering pace, and it's fantastic that we can help all of these people that had nowhere else to turn, and they're just like, I've done this for years, I've done this and nothing's working. So yeah, the future for us looks looks really bright at the moment because we've been able to balance both sides of the business model and work really effectively.
Awesome, mate. Well done. Well done. So, Josh, on our show, we have a 60-second quiz to find out a little bit more about our guests. Are you willing to play?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Favorite movie?
Is the prestige
Okay. Favorite food?
is mangoes. Love mangoes.
Favorite holiday destination?
Exmouth, Western Australia.
Nice. What's your morning routine?
I wake up, I roll over, I snuggle my wife, and then I go downstairs and take care of the kids while she gets ready for the day.
Nice. What's your evening routine?
Kids, dinner, bath, bed, and then spend a couple of hours doing some work stuff before, parking on the couch and debriefing the day before bed.
Nice. Do you have a most embarrassing moment?
Actually, my first date with Tara, my wife, we went to the pool and I slipped over. And she just lost it. 13 years later, we're still here.
Love it. Love it. If you could choose 5 inspirational people to have dinner with, who would they be? They could be dead or alive.
JD Rockefeller, Simon Sinek, Grindler, the founder of NLP. I would have dinner with Gandhi and Julius Caesar.
Fantastic. And if you were prime minister for the day, what's one thing that you would change?
I'd pull all the mental health resources and services and add mental health as an option under 000, so people just had to call one number: fire, ambulance, police, mental health, and just grip that all together.
Love it, mate. What a great idea. And what's your best piece of advice?
It's not what others say about you that matters, it's what you say about yourself.
Boom, drop the mic. And how can the audience get in contact with you and follow your journey and assist in your journey?
So we have a website, nexusally.com.au, and our Instagram handle is nexus.ally. So you can find us at both of those places. Get in touch, please.
Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate it. Guys, check it out, nexusally.com.au. Really get behind these guys, support them, get them in, do some corporate training, help them to help the veterans of our service. It's an honor and privilege to have you on the show today, Josh. And once again, from the bottom of my heart, mate, thank you so much for everything that you've done and continue to do for our country.
Thanks, James. It's been great.